Ravioli. That's one thing about past lives too. I had a lot of, well, I guess you would just call them gangster lives. You know,
Oh,
like
did
not
you?
yeah, not like gangster, like a killer. You know, although I did some of that, I'm sure, but more like that was just the culture I grew up in. You know, like
Yeah.
anti-establishment, Robin Hood-esque type of, old school, like the mafia, like even other cultures too, not just the Italians. Okay, we got a few people here. Let me make sure everybody's hooked up. Okay, all platforms are hooked up. Okay, we're going to allow people some time to come in. I'm going to play a different intro today because we're just going to have a little fun with it. How's that? A little brevity. Okay, here we go. We'll be right back in about in a minute and 45 seconds.
Todd Medina, Soulogy One Studios. What's going on here? Democracies, aristocracies, oligarchies, monarchies, hierarchies, presidents and popes. What's the real dope? What's this all about? Faith, hope, doubt? That's all that earth stuff, man. I am a multi-dimensional, high-vibrational, evolutionary being, and I'm tired of hiding it. I am soul. I don't care who or what tried or is trying to deceive us. Call it the devil or another's Messiah, prophet, or God. It's all the same to me. Whoever they are, they can never take our souls, and that's when we came here to learn. From the burn of being wrong, denying who we are, taking orders, lawless laws, a branded existence, but not anymore. I am divinity. Yeah. Alright. The power we hold to mold the future, heavenly nirvana. From the inside, present, eternal. It's time to be a bolder flame. The game isn't the same. We are the spirit science synthesis, the action of conscious thought, alignment, transmuting to a living wisdom. Yeah. No longer dreaming the life, I am living the dream.
Why is it? There it goes. So, hang on. Let's see. How do we want to do this today? Hang on. Is that too much? You like the little picture or the big picture? What do you think?
It's up to you, Todd.
Well, I'm looking pretty rough this morning. Let's make it small. I'm just kidding. So let me make a couple of quick announcements. You know, we're not fluid and professional here. We do everything by the seat of our pants. I want to just say thank you to everybody for your continued love and support contributions that allow us to keep doing this by the seat of our pants every day. And that's a true statement. And we're not complaining because that's how the 5D works. Nobody gets a savings account. You just have to step into the unknown every day and collaborate and co-create. And beautiful, magical things happen. And so we've got some things formulating for the first part of this year that we'll be announcing very soon. And it's possible because of people's gifting, energy, and accommodations and so on. You know, there's many ways to collaborate and support others, and that's a big deal in 2021 is the co-creation collaboration. We have a huge week next week. We have a great show we're about to do. I'll get into that in a second. Next week, and I'm going to go ahead and post this today. We've got a bunch of people coming on next week, by the way. We got Marina Jacoby, Kalina Malnar, and William Melchizedek, Melissa Ford, Alicia Power. And Wednesday is a really big day. We have David Icke is going to be on, and that's going to be at 5 p.m. Let's see, 5 p.m. England time, which is noon Eastern time, 11 Central, and 9 Pacific. Right after that show, we're going to have Sandra Walter on, our beautiful beloved sister from Sedona. We might have Lori Ladd after that. We're not sure. She's got some travel plans. She's going to see if she can work that out. And then later that evening, Marie Bachelor. We've got Grace Solaris. The next day, Franco De Nicola, Yvonne Bartholomew, Jan Lemire, the Dolphin Guy, and a bunch of other people the rest of the month. So I just wanted to put that out there. And also wanted to put out that, we are still originating all of these shows from SoulogyNetwork.com. We haven't got a lot of traffic to the website, and that's basically due to me. But I will be, expanding awareness of that more and more. And if anything happens on any social media, you can always go to SoulogyNetwork.com and watch these shows live. Okay. Having said all that, thank you for letting me take the time. We have the beautiful Soma with us today. We had a great show with her, I think in November, and we kind of made some plans to further collaborate as time moves forward. And so here we are. It's been like, almost 60 days, probably 6 to 7 weeks since we talked. And I'm not sure what the date was, but I have a feeling it was around 11/11. But all I can say is, holy shiitake mushrooms. What in the hell has happened since 11/11? I mean, 12/12. Everybody went into a deep dive, not in a bad way, but solitude, universal isolation in those last 3 weeks of December. And of course, this first 9 days of January have been absolutely off the hook, to include all the stuff going on in the movie script and the narratives around the world. But at the end of the day, it's about me, and it's about you, and it's about our brothers and sisters, and stepping into our expanding power and awareness and higher sensitivities and supernatural abilities and teleportation and bilocation and telekinesis and walking in dimension while we're consciously awake in our physical body. All kinds of things are coming on board, and that's just kind of my take on it. Welcome back to the show, Soma. Welcome back. Thank you for coming in and honoring us with your presence. What's your take on, I know you're highly sensitive. What's your take on the last few weeks? How's it been going for you, and what are you observing? Oh, you're muted. Your microphone went off. It just went off. Okay. That was tripping me out. I thought maybe we were having some, let's see, what is this? It's good to see everybody. Hey, Adam, what's happening? And Simply Life, Aurora, yeah, yes, and Horace. Did you change something? Yeah, you went mute. You know what? There's some icons. Do you see them at the bottom of the screen, left to right? The left one is a microphone. The one to the far right is like a little wheel. Press that, and it'll let you choose what you're. Can you hear me? No, still can't hear you. So at the bottom of the screen, below the screen, on the right hand side, there's a little wheel icon. Click that, and it'll come up: video input, and audio output. And then you click audio input and choose your microphone. You see that? It was working a minute ago, before the show. Yeah. So I don't know what happened. Unless you want to go out and come back in, that might fix it. Yeah, because you're off. You're off right now. Okay, so that's okay. These things happen. Let's see.
Is that working?
Oh, there you are. Yes.
Okay, great.
Houston, we have a signal.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Todd, yeah.
I'm just playing. I'm like that old commercial. Can you hear me now? So, what's been going on the last few weeks with you, and what are you observing out there, both in the physical plane and the etheric plane?
Well, it's been, I mean, that's such a huge question, but it's great to be here. And I feel such a great connection to you. I really feel like you're a star brother. And I'm honored to be here, delighted to be here. And we were talking a little bit before the show about past lives, and you started to touch on expansion as well, and expansion of the psychic abilities. But this is the great awakening of humanity. So we are evolving. We're in the midst of evolution, baby. And
Yeah.
so our psychic abilities, our mediumship, our awareness, our dreams, our telepathy, our awareness, we are literally evolving. Our brains are physically changing. Our minds are changing. We are growing. We are expanding. We are adapting. We are evolving as humans.
Yeah.
So we are no longer the old humans who we used to be. And some of us are further ahead than others. Some of us are behind others. So we're all at different stages of our own individual evolution, but the ones at the forefront are here to assist humanity, are here to assist the ones at the back of the line, the ones at the back of the class, the ones at the back of the queue. So dreams are more vivid.
Yeah.
Psychic abilities are more vivid. Awareness is more vivid. Yeah, everything is just more.
Yeah.
You know,
I like the term that you're using, because it's evolution, right? Like I think that there's plenty of evidence, like irrefutable evidence, and it has been all our lives, but it's gotten more publicity as time's gone on. And that is that there is an evolutionary process, a natural evolutionary process in the universal makeup. And there's plenty of evidence that, well, 150,000 years ago, maybe 200,000 years ago, there was a massive anomaly or aberration occurred in the Earth's evolutionary species growth, to specifically the Homo sapien, or whatever two-legged you want to refer to. But in the period of like Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, in that period, somewhere in there, there's a lot of evidence. There's enough evidence to know that something came in and absolutely changed everything through some type of whatever, right? Some type of modification. But there seems to be, to me, what you're saying, there's a lot to be said for what you're saying in terms of we have kind of hit our natural stride now, our natural evolution. And in that evolution, probably unbeknownst to those that may have had a part in manipulating our DNA, or whatever you want to call it, the genetics, you're right. There is a new mind on board. There's a new heart on board. There's new capabilities on board. And it seems like the only thing holding us back, and I don't mean to sound judgmental, because I'm not being that way, is our belief system.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing standing between me and the whole fairy kingdom that's out in the back of my house, where I might have seen like 3 or 4. There's like 3 or 4 million out there. And the only thing that's keeping me from seeing them and interacting with them is my own belief system, my own fear, my own belief system of what I can and can't do, and what's real and what's not real. Yeah.
And we've been so programmed, Todd, to and being so dumbed down as well. And with our DNA and the chemtrails and the water, been so weaponized to be slaves, to be enslaved, and not to step outside of the narrative, not to step outside of the box. So programmed, so conditioned. It's quite devastating and really sad to feel how we've been set up.
Yeah.
From day one, from the downfall of Atlantis, like you were saying, where I believe our DNA was changed, adapted, and manipulated by the negative agenda. And now everything is. Are you okay if I go a bit deeper with this?
You can do whatever you want to do. This is Soulogy. You can even use F-bombs.
Okay, great. Thank you, Todd. That's great.
We're just freewheeling it here, baby.
Yeah, it's really, I really do love your energy. And I don't have much of a filter when I'm speaking, so I tend to say what comes into my mind.
That's fine with me. I just try to hold the F-bombs if I'm in the presence of a lady, but if I hear her drop any type of salty language, I might start. No, I'm kidding. Go.
Okay. So one of the things I was shown years ago, but I was shown it again this year, is that the Earth, at the time of Atlantis, the Earth was knocked off its natural axis. So a large meteor came in and hit the Earth, and the Earth shifted off its axis. So the poles shifted, the land shifted, everything shifted, and she was knocked off her natural axis.
Yeah.
At the same time, negative ET energy came in and dumbed down our DNA, manipulated, changed our DNA. So the Earth was changed and we were changed around the same time in order for them to be able to rule over the Earth,
right,
which they've been doing since the downfall of Atlantis. I was told the Atlanteans didn't see it coming. The difference is that we do see it coming. So everything is shifting back now onto a natural axis, the natural blueprint, both the Earth and us. So we are evolving, and the Earth is shifting back to her natural axis. So there's going to be events on Earth that are going to be very difficult for us, very challenging, that involved weather and involved land, and we're starting to see that now. Even over the last couple of days, there's been a lot of reports that I haven't seen online or in the media, but I've heard from friends that are happening in Ireland and Europe as well. I'm not sure where else because I haven't seen.
In regard to like the weather or what?
Yeah, the weather and earthquakes and
yeah. You know, it's really interesting because the speed of information has increased so rapidly over the last few years, especially in 2020, and I know 2021 is just going to ramp up more. And it's really interesting. I do a lot of researching. I have for the last few years, and I guess really read a lot prior to that. Historical stuff, whatever, biographies. But the thing that I'm getting at is I can see where there's a new level of information that is being put onto the table, which has typically been religion, spirituality, and I say spirituality in a very broad sense, science, has all been on the table, like prove it, show me. But there has been people like you and many people now on board downloading, transmitting, channeling information that's very real. And there are a lot of common denominators and alignments in different people's narratives, even though they might tell the story different. And what I'm getting at is it seems like right now, today, like, what is this? 1, 2, 3 days after this, whatever this has been over here in America with this election and riots supposedly and all this BS, right? There seems to be something coming online here in early 2021, which is where I'll just put it in my own words. I want to see what you have to say or how you feel about it. And it seems like there is this connection that we have, and you can call it imagination, intuition, telepathy, or whatever, but there seems to be some traction that is founded and being expanded all over the world in a really different way, in an atypical way than normal, like make an announcement, put it in the newspaper, put it on this website. No, this is all being done kind of in the invisible part of our experience, and I think with that is the acceptance of the information that we're receiving. You can call it memories that are coming in, channeling, downloads, sharing that information by many methods, through light language, through artistic expressions, through conversations. And I really feel like this is what's building the snowball of the 5D plus frequencies that we all have within ourselves as we know it. So regardless of what's happened, like Is this a circumstance that we're in or a consequence of something? It doesn't really matter now. What matters is we've aligned with this universal evolutionary, natural evolution that you're talking about, and with that comes, the reality of gods and goddesses in the flesh. So buckle up.
Yeah, we definitely need to buckle up, because before we go any further, Todd, there's something I need to clarify, because on the last show, you had asked me a question about time, and was I shown any time spans or events? And I have been shown that in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years, and in the next 30 years, there's going to be events. But that's not real. I mean, that is to do with the ascension, but there's going to be major events in the next 10 years, 20 years and 30 years. And I'm going to have to check those dates, because I think that came through 2 years ago. So it would now be 8 years and so on. But I think I feel that those events to come in those years are going to be, the energy feels very similar to the time we're in now. So it's major events happening at those times. And I will have to check the dates, because it came through actually when I was doing an interview with Ted Moore, of all people. So I think it was 2 years ago. I'll have to check the day that I actually did the interview. But I think, I feel, and I haven't been shown what's going to happen yet, hopefully, but I do feel that it's huge and of major importance, events. So it's not really, because you had asked about the ascension and timelines. So I went on to say that I've been given 10 years, 20 years and 30 years. And that is to do with the ascension. But I believe we're going to have woken up to a much greater degree, a much greater awareness when we hit 10 years, when we hit 20 years, when we hit 30 years. Yeah,
it's interesting too, because obviously I've done a lot of shows, 2,500 shows. So over that time, which I guess has been about 4 years or 3.5 years, there have been a lot of credible people like yourself that have come in and had, have had kind of a forecast, of in their own experience with the infinite intelligence, the information they're given. And some of those forecasts included dates. Now, we also know that there's been a whole bunch of people that put up dates over the last few years to include the event and other things that never happened. Okay. And that's not to throw light on, throw anything on shade on anybody. But my point is one of the things that I noticed last year in doing the show is that a lot of these people, such as yourself, who had a track record, so to speak, in the light worker community for a long, long time before there were even light worker communities. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what I noticed was that they were showing me evidence of an expansion of humanity as a whole, and they were showing it to me in a way that they were modifying and dropping modalities and processes that they used. They were modifying their information in terms of what they'd been told prior. And at the end of the day, what it really told me is that we're making progress at a substantial rate, that our timeline, if you will, is dictated by the level of consciousness that we have, which is a nonlinear aspect. In other words, it was very true. Let's say, as an example, let's say 3 years ago, somebody or somebody's were told, here's the timeline. In 2025, this is going to happen. In 2030, this is going to happen. In 2040, this is going to happen. But that was very true in that moment. But because of the level of conscious awareness and expansion on the Earth as a whole, which is driven by, this group that you might call wave showers or, star seeds or whatever. It accelerates the timeline. And so, and I've watched this happen in amazement with some really high-powered people. And I could name names, but there's no reason to. But I guess where I'm going with it is how much do you think that the aspect of linear time has changed or not changed? I mean, in other words, 5 years ago, how much influence or impact did linear time have in all of its different ways? How does it compare to today? Do you feel like it's lessening? Do you feel like it's the same? Do you feel like it's going to go away? Do you feel like it's only standing there because of our belief in it? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel that time has changed. Time for me personally is, it's my friend describes it as being on a treadmill, and sometimes it will kind of buffer, it will wobble, it will go blah, and it's a bit like that. Mm-hmm. Where it's not really, I mean, it never was linear, but it's becoming more obvious now, and we're becoming more aware of it, that time is changing. Time is speeding up. Time is changing, and we feel it, we see it, we experience it. There's a very good film, actually, that I can't remember the name of. I think it was, it's been a recent film over the last 10 years, but there's a large thing that hovers above the earth, and she goes back in the film. The film kind of goes back to her memories. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've seen it.
It's a big ship that hovers over the earth.
Yeah, it comes in and lands.
I don't know.
But it doesn't actually land, it just hovers. But it's a very good film, and that film really describes it very well, where time is not linear at all. And sometimes she skips forward and then she skips back, and it's like she's kind of looping the time frame.
That's a good explanation. Because I've been like not struggling, but I've been like thinking about what the hell's going on here. Like we were talking about past lives before we got on the show, and but there's been this element of, okay, I don't know how to explain this. You asked me about before the show. You asked me about what's going on in the dream state, and then we mentioned past lives, and what I'm getting really since first of the year. So what's that? 8 days. Has been that in my conscious state.
Todd, right? You broke up there.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Are you there? Okay. What I was going to say is what I've noticed is in my conscious state, like in my awake state like this. Now, granted, a lot of this has happened when I've laid down at night, put my hands together with Morgan as we do every night, and we start to connect. But it's also happened during the day in flashes, and they're becoming more and more frequent. And what that is like having eyes into another aspect, one of my aspects, basically, like being in dream state, and all of a sudden, okay, so like last night in I would say 3 or 4 nights in the last 8 days, maybe 10 days, I've laid down. I have been on a ship. I have been an insectoid ET. I have been around family and friends and a team on that ship. I have also seen Morgan and a particular type of ET species, star family, that was in this case different than my own. Like, let's say mine was blue, hers was kind of a purplish green. That, I'm explaining that by color. But what I'm trying to say is that these episodes and occurrences are happening, and they're sustaining themselves. They're lasting longer and longer and longer and longer, right? Morgan is my wife, by the way.
I know.
Well, I know somebody asked on YouTube.
Okay.
But and there's information coming with it. And the other thing, I don't know if this has happened to you, but you've probably already been there and done that. But one of the things that's happened too over the last few days is that I'm being told that you have the choice to see us being, I don't know, my monad, my team, my soul family, my star family, whatever, I don't know. But they're saying you are now ready to see us in more of a physicality. We will appear even clearer and clearer and clearer. And granted, Morgan and I have both had, we've had encounters in our room and a couple other places where they have taken on a physicality, even though it was translucent, we could see very clearly. But what I'm getting is that they're like, we can physically appear, either translucent or more physical, and I feel it. I mean, and they told me the only thing holding you back is fear. So are you prepared to see us? And they show me a little picture of their face. I'm like, ooh. And then the next time, I'm like, okay, I'm good for it now. Okay. Because they got big black eyes.
Yeah.
Obviously they're humanoid, but they're not human. You know what I mean? So it is a little bit hard to adjust to that. But I had 3 nights ago, they really came in strong with this, and I opened my eyes, and there actually was 3 or 4, and I think a couple of them merged with me. I mean, I could feel them. I could feel our bodies merging. So I don't know what's going on, man, but it's getting very, very cool, and I like this stuff a lot more than I like watching that bullshit on mainstream media and all these false flag frequencies and stupid narratives that. And I'm going to get it back to you because I just woke up and I'm sorry I'm talking so much, but I think everybody needs to remember one thing. Whether somebody interfered in this incarnation or this series of incarnations, or whether we all orchestrate this and decide upon this right down to the last soul, how we lay this out, and let's keep our memories away from us and let's play the game. The one thing that we do know is that whatever's been put out there has been meant to divide us. And if anything's dividing you, then you are the point of separation. I am the point of separation. And that's the truth. There is no good guys, bad guys, at a certain level. Our ability to accelerate this evolution that Soma's talking about is strictly based on our ability to integrate polarities.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about, because we are everything. The Buddhists have a belief and a saying that there's nothing we haven't been in our past lives. We've been the victim, we've been the perpetrator, we've been the murderer, we've been the homeless guy, we've been, the rich person at the top of the game. We've been everything. So we have experienced everything, and we're here to expand and create, and we are part of God. And God is about knowing thyself. God was actually, what I've been shown, Todd, is that God created himself or herself through sound, through frequency, that became aware of itself.
Yeah.
And then expanded and expanded and expanded, and wants to know everything, see everything, be everything, feel everything, experience everything. And in order to do that, it's like having little raindrops of the ocean. They are all individual and separate, and some are in the center of light, and some are at the darkest, furthest outreaches of space and time.
Yeah.
But we are all connected. We are all connected. If all of those little droplets of water or energy are, actually put back into the ocean. We are all connected. So there's this negative agenda, negative realm that is part of us. It is part of us. We are it. That is working against us. It's like we've become schizophrenic. Like there's two aspects of us. There's our positive side and our negative side.
Absolutely.
Or the shadow side.
Absolutely.
And we need to integrate everything and within us and be that good God, rather than the evil devil, because we are both. Right. And there's been a huge play on our language and our words. There's been many words that have been eliminated from our vocabulary. That is, and there's been a huge play on words as well. In the English dictionary these days, there's only one word for love that I know of. I've heard that recently that there are other words, but there's only one word for love that we're taught, and that is one word. And yet there are so many different types of love. Yeah. So many different types of love. So and our language has really been manipulated, and words have been taken out of our language.
Yeah.
And also one of the biggest things that comes to mind at the moment that I've heard about recently is Cain and Abel in the Bible, which is actually cannibal. So that's a really good example of how our language has been. We've been playing.
Cain, Abel, cannibal. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I never thought of that. I just got the code with that. So, what you're saying, and see, this is what I was talking to somebody about the last couple of days. I said it's so difficult if we stand in our human-only perspective shoes, so to speak. You look at stuff from the human-only perspective, and this shit just ain't gonna work. You got like some really horrific stuff happening, but the information that we're receiving as a result of our soul's lineage and our human entity lineage and our accessibility to the collective lineage, what you've experienced I can tap into is available to me and vice versa. But as a result of all that, that's an expansion of experience, that's an expansion of knowledge and wisdom, and with that comes, at least at a minimum, the ability and the potential to expand love, to expand truth, to expand this and that. Now, as an example, in my own case, I had a couple of years where I was every day, every night in the galactic wars. Whether I was living them at that time, this was 4 or 5 years ago, or whether I was remembering them at that time, or however that stuff works. But the whole point was there was even in my higher state, because I was a more intelligent, that was a more intelligent aspect. I was still in the dark and light fight. And then around 2016, through a lot of conscious effort, like we've all done, and utilizing that experience too, of the dimensional stuff, I was able to balance dark and light. I'm not saying I was perfect, but I was able to go, okay, I'm not afraid of anything and I'm open to everything. Because when nobody really knows anything, that's the crazy thing about it, is I have to be in that state of, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's not, I have to be in that state of I am nothing to really get I am everything.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's the way it works. It's really strange. But I guess going back to what you're saying, and to conclude my comment, is that we're in a space now as I, for myself, okay, I'm not saying it's gospel, but what I'm picking up from other people, and I'm pointing to the changes and openness and expansion I've seen in these people and in myself, I'm at the point now where I'm going, oh, wait a minute. There is a certain cyclical aspect to creation. You can't fight it. It's like summer, fall, winter, spring. It's like, it's just going to happen. But in terms of how this thing goes, it's really on us. Like we had a transmission from Commander Ashtar through a friend of ours a couple of days ago. It was very good, very real. And basically, Ashtar said, hey, we are learning from you. You learn from us. We provide information, other galactics, other celestials, and other angelics, whatever. But we're actually learning through y'all. And if you weren't doing this, we would not have access to this code and information and data and expansion.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah.
Works both ways.
Yeah. And we're heading to a time and space where we're going to be space traveling.
Yeah.
And
right.
and communicating and planet hopping, star hopping, where we get to choose if we want to live there, or if we want to go on holiday, if we want to go for a visit, or it's going to be a galactic family, but in a very physical way.
I feel that.
Because the veils of amnesia, the veils of our junk DNA are being lifted away. Our DNA is changing back to our original blueprint. So we're going back to a time where it's circular. It's not even that we're going back in time. It's that we're going forward in time to a place we've never even been to before. And we are heavily being assisted, although there was something I wrote earlier, and I went to have a lay down earlier before the show, and I had a download of information come to me, and I got up later on and wrote it down. Would it be okay to read it, Todd?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you do whatever you want to do, if you want to get up and do a little dance and shake your butt, whatever you want to do. Fine.
I might not do that. I'm not a very good dancer.
I'm just playing with you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, I want to hear this. Yeah.
Thanks, Todd. It's not very long. Okay. We need to come together, gather our tribes, unite with one another and join together, rise up and sit down with our elders, the Native American elders, the tribal elders, the ancient grandfathers of all traditions, our true teachers, our wisdom keepers. We need to listen to their stories, their forgotten history, their buried history, our true history that has been long lost, hidden, and kept from us. We have been lied to on a mass scale. Everything we have been taught is a lie. We need to start facing our shadow, our truth. We need to be still, sit down with our true teachers, our shaman, the elders, whether they are African or Irish or whatever color, and every color in between. It is time for us to rise up and sit down and listen to the elders, their stories, their wisdoms, their values, their education, especially about the earth. Time for us to get off our knees, rise up and claim back our earth, our sovereignty, our divinity, our birthright, our destiny. This is a war, not a war that we have seen before. It's a spiritual war, a psychological war, a war on humanity and the Great Awakening. Time to increase, improve, up our game. The dark side, don't take a day off. We have underestimated their evilness and wickedness for far too long now. Time to stop waiting for someone to save us. Time for us to save ourselves, to get organized. It's way overdue. Time for us to gather, unite, get together, join as one, hold hands. Time to shine. It's time now. Only when humanity has had enough will they change.
Yeah.
Only when people have had enough of the situation will they change. Only when an abused woman has had enough will she leave. Only when you have had enough of the situation will you change it. It's time now. Get up and take control. Go and get your voice heard. Gather in your groups, unite, stand up and let your voice be heard. Sit down with the elders, with the spiritual teachers. Gather, gather, gather. Unite and work as one force together, like a flock of birds. Hold hands. Feel each other. Heart energy. Heal each other. Heal each other. You are all you've got. Yes, you have help from beings of light and ET, positive ET energy, that are very real. But one of your biggest lessons on earth, let us say that again, one of your biggest lessons on earth is to realize your power. Yeah. We are here to assist you in your journey of ascension, but we cannot do it for you. That would defeat the purpose. Yeah. Rise up, rise up, rise up, and take back your power.
Beautiful. So that's the spirit of the first 8 days of 2021 to me. Like, the spirit of it is, you know, I was told when I woke up, what is now going on 10 years, I was told the first 2 years I walked the streets, you know, by my own choice, homeless. And I spent a lot of time, really all the time, connecting. And I was told a lot of things, like a lot of us have been on the individual level in our individual communication with the universal. So I was given like Soulogy, and I was given like other bits of information. And I, like everybody, said, what the hell do I do with all this information? and they're like, you need to share it, number one, which we've all been there. And number two, you figure it out. Like, you figure it out. We're going to give you the pieces, you put them together. But they told me, one thing we will tell you is, whatever you do, don't do anything that's been done before. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, so it applied, as time went on, I realized it applied to everything. It applied to relationships. It applied to everything. Was stepping out of a box, right? So listening to what you just wrote, which was beautiful, right? And really to the point, I immediately go into, you know, like the natural, not natural, but the you know, out of habit, the pattern, the behavior, the response would immediately be to go, okay, let's mobilize, let's go out to the street, let's all go outside our door right now and say, I will not participate in this bullshit. I am soul, you know, or what? But there's something else involved here to me. It's that unseen element. It's that invisible hand of providence that we are. It's this intention from here. Like, we don't even have to do anything in the old way. It's like we make a choice here. And when we make that choice, let's say that choice is, you know what? I'm not going to deal with these false flag frequencies anymore. On a conscious human level, I'm no longer going to look at mainstream media. I'm not going to give that any thought because it's ridiculous. It's distorted.
It's a program.
It's a program. Okay, so I'm going to move that over here. I'm not going to even. It's not like fluffy love and light don't look. It's just like, you know what? That's not in my field. That's not on my playground. And enough people do it. Guess what happens? It goes away. Mm-hmm. So if it goes away, like in our own transformations that we've all gone through, we all know. If I clear this shadow, if I integrate these polarities within myself, or however you want to describe it, guess what happens? Out with the old, in with the new. And what is the new? It's this natural evolutionary frequency that you're talking about that we've hit. Mm. And, you know, those, you can call them the lesser gods or whatever you want to call them, that came in and played that role of interfering and retooling.
The lizards.
I don't think they, you know, that movie Frankenstein, they ain't got nothing on us. I don't think they had any idea of the level. In other words, I think that being retooled and being played with and manipulated has actually increased our potential in terms of what we can be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think so too, Todd. What the Pleiadians showed me early on in the year was that they kept showing me visually, because they show me very visually, because that's the best way that I get it. They showed me a tsunami of water coming in, and this tsunami is coming in and coming in, and it's not even water, it's energy. So a wave of energy is coming in, which was at the beginning of last year, of 2020, was C19.
Yes.
Yeah. So they, and because they've got all these different little plays and bullshit shows that they're putting into our consciousness and awareness. So one of them was COVID-19. I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry. I didn't want to say the word, but
you can say whatever you want to say. I don't care.
okay.
Nobody here cares. We're good.
So this wave of energy came in, and the negative agenda. But like any tsunami, it will double back on itself. So the light we have risen back on the negative agenda. And because they've put this bullshit COVID into our consciousness and awareness on Earth, they've actually woken us up. And so actually it's a positive thing what they've done. Yeah. They've actually kick-started a huge, massive awakening on Earth, the likes of which we've never seen before. So the negative does have a positive part to play in our evolution.
Yeah.
So there's I mean, since I was a child, I've always believed, because of my childhood that was very traumatic, I've always believed and been shown that there's always a positive that comes out of a negative.
Yes.
There's always, the cracks that are in the dark is where the light gets in. That's where the light gets in. So, yeah. And I'm dying to hear more about. I probably shouldn't ask this now, so I won't. But
ask it.
Oh well, I'm dying to hear more about your situation when you were homeless. I was homeless in London a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's bad being homeless anywhere, but to be homeless in a city, in a huge city, it's even worse, because everything is more extreme. But I want to.
You got to really be on your toes. That's for sure.
Yeah.
At least if you were in the neighborhoods I was in, where all the hellraisers were.
Yeah.
But you were just saying something too. I want to go back to that first. So when that happened, when that period started in my life, the very first thing I was told was keep it simple. Like you're going to be putting other people's expressions. You're going to be trying to put the truth out there, whether it's yours or somebody else's that you're promoting. And they said to me, there's 3 rules. 1, there's only one. Period. There is a one, whatever you want to call it, source, whatever, right? 2, there is a perfect order to the universe. Cause and effect, what goes around comes around. That's never going to change. And so what you're saying about, how something positive is produced from, let's say, something negative, it's absolutely the truth. And look, you can look at the virus as an example. I mean, here they are, and I hate to use the word they, but here it is that the agenda, let's just say, is to dumb down everybody, uniform education, all that stuff. So as an example, all these kids have been at home. Think about that. We're energy beings. So all these kids have been in this institutionalized educational system. The quarantine is put into effect to further dumb down, further uniform yet these kids have gone home, they're outside playing, they're getting into their creativity and their imagination. So it actually worked to our favor. COVID, or the suggestion of COVID and all the things that have come out of it, has actually accelerated our sovereignty. Because I think what's happening is, even if you look at this, I mean, look, I don't have a political view, all right? I don't. But if I watch this riot, it was absolutely stupid. It was like a B movie. Like, who the hell's going to believe that? It was bullshit, right?
But the programmed people do believe it, Todd.
Well, but I think what's happening, this is what I think is happening. Morgan and I were talking about this a couple of days ago, that it's so distorted that it's so like cartoon, like are you effing kidding me? Like and it's so distorted that it's actually going to, and this goes back to what you were saying about a negative producing a positive. It's actually getting to the point now, whether they're awake or not awake, that people are going to give up their cognitive dissonance because it's such a distorted suggestion or presentation that's put in front of a person, and it's affecting them on an individual level. They're just going to go, you know what? I've had enough of that, right? Yeah. So the cognitive dissonance is going to go away. That's that's the way I see it. I see like people are just going to. I've done it. I'm like, you know what? I've had enough of this, right? I'm gonna get on the road. I'm gonna go make some magic happen, and I'm not going to look back. You know?
Yeah. Totally get what you're saying. Totally agree with what you're saying, and that's also ties into what I was getting earlier about. It's only when people have had enough, and we're on the verge of having enough. I'm not talking about us because we've already had enough. I'm talking about Joe Bloggs down the road who's still watching the news and the media, and my neighbor who only said to me at Christmas, but if it's not on the news, it's not true. And I was like,
holy shiitake mushrooms. Yeah. But I don't want to just take. Look, you're right, okay, and I do defend the unawakened a lot. But let me say something. I came off of the what was this thing, the 6th? So what was it, 2 days ago when that happened?
Yeah.
And the day leading up to it. After that happened, I came on. I woke up the next morning, which would have been yesterday morning. And I got on to the news feeds, and there are light workers. These are awake people, okay, in our community. Not that we're any different than the other, but here's the point. They like, hey, if you're against Trump, get the F off my page. I mean, like, whoa, like we're supposed to be creating the 0 point, the new 0 point, the new template, the new good book. And so and I'm not knocking anybody. What I'm trying to say is, it's affecting every single crowd. Okay, so this goes back to what you said earlier about the spiritual war, conflict, whatever you want to call it. It's right here.
Yeah, it's
my decision right here.
And it's an internal conflict because we have been taught for thousands of years. We've been programmed to believe the very opposite of what's actually true. So it's not only, if time is not linear, it's not only this lifetime we're dealing with. It's lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of being programmed and conditioned, and our DNA being dumbed down and manipulated and affected, and chemtrails and the water. We're bombarded with the negative agenda wanting to keep us dumbed down and unable to evolve. And we've kind of taken a leapfrog jump over over the negative agenda that they've put into our awareness and consciousness, and are now on the verge of, I'll use the word normal. I don't like using that word, but normal people, unawake people who are on the verge of saying enough is enough.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to start saying enough is enough in this year, in 2021.
I believe so. I
think they've already started to do that, but I think this year it's going to be even more than it was last year.
Well, you're seeing some of it. I mean, I can't recall the countries, but I think it was Germany. People are like having massive gatherings to protest against quarantine. Now look, here's a good example, and thank you, Marguerite. Is that her name? Marguerite Lefevre. So what do you think of all the light workers who say God told them Trump would win? I don't want to make this about anyone, but this is in the context of the conversation.
Well, Trump did win.
Well,
Trump did win.
We could have. I don't know.
I believe. My personal belief. Is
Yeah,
Trump?
I think there's, again, I don't have a political affiliation. But you can easily look, for instance, at the media, at, the way they're presenting everything. I mean, it's obvious. Look, this isn't anything new, right? The media has been controlled, and we've been programmed for over 70 years. All right.
More
My
time.
point, even more. My point is that in regard to the question, I think that we whether we understand it or whether we like it or not, we are here to integrate polarities, and that doesn't mean that's more about me energetically taking that middle road than it is about me going to protest or march or whatever the case is. Now, what I'm trying to say about her comment, I don't think anybody knows. I don't know if Trump Trump obviously was the president for 4 years so far. That was a choice that everybody made at an energetic level. Fuck the votes. The votes don't mean shit. I haven't voted my whole life. And the reason I haven't, because I've known that it's been a rigged system, and you can go back to Kennedy's election and you can prove that out. Okay. There's no doubt. All right.
Same here, Todd. I've never voted ever.
Yeah. Well,
because I've always known that it's bullshit, that both sides are the same.
Well, you voted with your feet. See, there's a third choice, and that's the whole point. It's not about Trump, Biden, Democrat, Republican, or communist, capitalist, or whatever your choices are. There's a third choice, and the third choice is I choose me. And when I choose me, I'm choosing you, and I'm choosing the collective. I'm serving all three of those points of the triad equally. Now, what I was going to say about her comment is that, look, we have fear-based programming. We all know that. But we also have savior-based programming. When I woke up, Jesus came in the trees, okay? He came like an asteroid in the trees. His face appeared. We had a conversation. That was not the Jesus in the Bible. That was the cosmic consciousness. That was the Jesus consciousness, or the Yeshua consciousness. So what I'm trying to say is there's been a lot of savior-based programming that's been put out there. And one of the things I think we have to learn at the end of the day, this is about self-empowerment. This is about self-reliance. This is about self-responsibility as a co-creator and a collaborator as we expand the experience of the universe, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the love, and the courage. Now, the point is, regardless of whether it's a Trump or Archangel Michael or this or that or this or that, if we continue to put our power into the hands of something outside of ourselves, we're just running the same loop. So to me, that's the bigger question. And I think that kind of answers the question in terms of, people that say, well, Trump's supposed to be president. Well, look, I don't know. You answer this question, because all I can say is the type of transmissions that I've received for the last 10 years would never say anything like that. They would never say, oh, this is good and this is bad. Now, maybe I'm just not as high up on the dimensional Richter scale as some of these people, but I don't believe that anything that I've ever received that would have that type of polarized comment. I really don't. But I will say this, and you can speak to this too. In the dimensional travels, in the galactic neighborhood, everywhere I've gone, there's still agenda. There's still imbalance. There's not perfection. They're not walking on water. They're higher intelligence, but they're also learning from us. So it's inverted, So, to thine own self be true. It applies here in the physical and applies in the etherical, as far as I'm concerned. How are we getting into this conversation?
Well, my human self distinguishes between Hitler and Jesus hugely. And I think that is probably due to a past life, or there's some memory somewhere in me that I've had as a child of being a Jew. And there's also another memory that comes to mind is I can remember the smell. I can remember the smell of being burned with like a hot coal or something. And that's not a smell that the mind or the brain can makeup. It's a just very distinctive smell that I could remember for as a child. But anyway, I'm kind of going off on a tangent there.
No, I'm with you on that, and it's important.
Okay. One thing thanks, Todd. One thing I wanted to mention is that on Laura Eisenhower's Facebook page, it has that she interviewed, question mark, she interviewed the guy with the horns a couple of years ago. And his name is Jake Angelini, or Angel Angelini, or Angel Eye, or something like that.
Right.
And that he was an actor, or is an actor. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's on Laura Eisenhower's page. So I posted a comment to her the other day saying, well, did you keep his details? Maybe you could interview him again and see what he says. I do think Trump is, in terms of 3D reality and how we view things, my 3D self would say that Trump is a good guy, and he is a light worker, and that people like Hitler are pure evil. But we have both of those aspects within ourselves.
Yeah.
We are everything. There is nothing outside of ourselves that exists that isn't in us.
That's right.
Internally. So we are both light and dark. We are both.
Well, and you know, look, consciousness is perception.
Yeah.
That's what consciousness is. Consciousness is perception. What I believe. That's quantum, right?
Yeah.
So look, in the event of a Hitler, okay, do you think Hitler thought he was a bad person? No. Hitler thought he was doing the right thing, and not to mention he had higher intelligent species, talking to him. So this whole thing, like, I can look at something, and I can say, wow, that's, I align with it, and you might look at it and go, I don't want anything to do with it. This whole thing is where it gets tricky, and I think this is where we're being asked to step up, is not to take a side. If you take a side, now I have a favor. I have a favorism. I actually favor the storyline of the white hats in the government, and we turn this thing around, and the Galactic Federation works hand in hand with us. But I don't know what the narrative's out there. I don't. My job is not to figure that out. My job is to bring unity consciousness, right? Now, if you look at the situation, if I wanted to pick apart any particular thing, I could pick it apart. What I'm trying to say is, it's kind of like friends. You can go around to friends that are going to tell you what you want to hear, because you can always find someone to substantiate your existence and rationalize your behavior and your opinions. Or you can go talk to people that say, hey, have you thought about this? So I look at Trump. And again, I don't have any political loyalty to anything. I don't even recognize borders or laws. But if I look at Trump, and this isn't knocking Trump, why in 4 years didn't we find out the truth about 9/11? Why, after 50 plus years, weren't we given all the details about JFK? Why haven't we? Well, why don't you answer the question of why did NASA lose all the pictures from the moon landings? That's fucking preposterous. So there's all these things. Now, does that mean Trump is full of shit? No. It could mean that he doesn't have the power that people thought he had.
Exactly, because there's forces that are operating above his level, above his level.
Yeah. So what are we dealing with here? Are we really dealing with Trump and Biden? Are we really dealing with Democrat and Republican? Are we dealing with energy? Are we dealing with imbalanced energy that's put before us? It's going, hey, give your power away. Let me suck your negative emotions out of you, or the archons, however you want to define it. Okay.
You could call them evil little children.
Huh?
You could call them evil little children, or naughty. Yeah. Mischievous.
Well,
Sorry to interrupt.
So what is that? We have patterns, right? We know this. We have loops. If we don't deal with something, for instance, a lot of empaths, they've had this loop in their life. And the loop was this: I'm going to be a doormat. I love you so much, I'm going to let you step all over me. And they come and they come. And then eventually the empaths over the last 2-3 years have been lifting weights, and they got muscles, and they're going, F this. I'm going to turn my weakness into a strength, and I'm going to start using this. I'm going to feel it, but I'm not going to take it on, right? And all this stuff, right? So it's the same thing to me. The energy's presented itself. It said, look at this movie out here. Our job has always been to get you to pick one side or the other. As long as we pick one side or the other on any issue, it doesn't matter, personal, private, family, relationship, whatever the case is, we are the separation. The minute I look at you and go, I believe this, I may not say it, but I'm superior to you. You're not awake. You're whatever, conditioned, you're programmed. The minute I make a distinction of separation, I am the separation.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying that's easy. You know, a lot of people in the spiritual community, they'll be like, oh, you just need to do this and you just need to do that. Well, this ain't about talking anymore. It's not even about walking the talk. It's about walking. Like, just walk that, be that.
Yeah.
Because if you do that energetically, beyond the visible light spectrum, beyond the 5 senses of the human, we have all this other stuff, and that's what's coming into motion now, and that's what's driving this expansion of this higher consciousness.
It totally get what you're saying. It's about turning away from everything that we're being shown at the moment and focusing on what we want to create. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, coming into our center, into our heart space, and expanding and seeing what we want to do, what we want to create, what we want to achieve, and going there. And at the same time, there's lots of different aspects going on globally, but also internally. That there's hundreds of different aspects, all coinciding now. So that there's lots of different threads that we need to kind of multitask. Yeah. All these different threads going on, but the major, I see the major thing that we need to do at the moment is to just be. Mm-hmm. Just be in that space of in between, of being awake and asleep, in that energy of meditation, of timelessness, where we are just awareness, where we are both good and bad, both light and dark.
So if people talk a lot about triggers, okay, you know, and then you have 50 other words or connotations attributed to the same thing. We overcomplicate everything. And what I'm trying to say is, you know, we keep looking outside for love, for verification, validation, right. And so here's the thing and you know, Morgan talked to me about this for years. You know, I'd say, I don't feel good. Like, good. I'm confused. Good. I'm uncomfortable. They piss me off. Good. Why is it good? Because there's something there for you, right? And I know that sounds cliche, but here's the thing. If something makes your muscles constrict, if something changes your emotion to an egoic emotion, you know, like sorrow or anger or whatever. Okay. If these things are happening, this is our opportunity. Our opportunity then is to say, okay, when I can face these things, when I can have something presented to me and I don't get a charge, now I'm contributing to the collective expansion in alignment with universal will. Okay. As long as something gives you a charge, I saw a lady yesterday. She put, you know, that lady, bless her, the lady at the Capitol that supposedly, because we don't know anything, that supposedly was shot in the neck or the chest and died. There was a light worker, okay, that said, that lady died. I look at it as somebody took the trash out. Like, what the fuck? You know, like, we're light workers. We're light workers. We're wage showers.
That's not a light worker.
But I'm just saying that programming, another way to look at the dark and the light, is that programming runs in us. And it runs in all of us. If I name the person in my life or your life, probably a family member or an ex-partner that irritates us more than anyone in the whole world, that's the same program. I'm saying I'm better than that person. They're a POS. They treated me like crap. And they're this and they're that. What am I saying? What am I really saying? I'm saying I'm not that. I'm not that, right? And so therefore the separation continues. This is not. So look, did you get an owner's manual? Because I didn't get one.
No.
I've told my guides many times, why didn't you give me an owner's manual?
I don't think I was even in the queue, Todd. I think it was out somewhere.
We're making this up as we go, and that's not a hindrance or a handicap. That's actually the universe going, you know what? We trust you. Go build the path. And here's the thing. We know that the universe resets all the time. Yeah. And somebody brought it up a couple of days ago on the show. I think we're being given the opportunity to actually transform beyond this level of consciousness where people will not be leaving in a physical transition unless it's by their choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, some people do that already. If you take the yogis and the Buddhists and people that are at very high level or enlightened level, they choose when to leave. They know when they're going to, pass away. Yeah. One thing I wanted to mention, Todd, is that it's just gone out of my mind, but it'll come back in a second, hopefully.
That's okay. That's how this whole thing works. That's another thing they didn't tell us. What are we supposed to do when our 3D short-term memory goes away?
Yeah.
It's true. It's happening all the time. It's insane. So let's shift gears. I want to ask you a question. So I'm not totally, I know we're going to have a private meeting tomorrow with Morgan and chat a little bit, get to know each other in regard to some future collaborations and such. But just in terms of what we share with our brothers and sisters. So I'm not totally familiar. Now I know a lot of people that are very familiar with you, and they they hold you in a high regard. Very credible, very legit. I've heard stuff like that. So my question is this. I try to, again, like I said earlier, they told me do things that have never been done before. So in this moment, I want to just, before we get out of here, I want to make sure that we reach for something like that. How do you connect? Do you connect? Do you sit down and say, I'm going to connect, I'm open? Or do you go try to reach specific divine essences or galactic essences? And whatever your answer is, even in regard to doing something else, such as a channeling or whatever you want to do, could you do something with us now?
I will try. I can't never promise anything.
I understand. But
I will try.
Yeah, because I feel that. That's what I'm saying. And I think this is part of what I was talking about earlier, what you were talking about, is the way this thing expands is by us stepping into it and being brave and trying it. And, and I really feel like that's how this works. It's not normal methods, that we're used to. It's actually crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy. I mean, the science that we're shown, that we're told about, says it's crazy. But actually, when you look into the real science, they're very well aware of of our reality and what's really going on. And our technology is far beyond what we're being shown, far beyond. Yeah. But what I do these days to step into that space, I guess you would call it, is I lay down and I take myself off into the between space of being asleep and awake. And I stay there as long as I can. And that is one of the ways I get my connection. It's one of the ways. But I started doing it as a child. So I had this guy lying on top of me who, I was 8 years old, and his whiskey, I'll never forget the smell of whiskey. And I couldn't breathe. I was undernourished, unfed, skinny little thing. There was no fat on me, anything. and I couldn't breathe. I literally couldn't breathe. And I left my body, and the Pleiadians connected to me, and I was gone. I don't know how long I was gone. It wasn't very long. And then I was back at no time at all. And for years I remembered the abuse, but I'd forgotten leaving my body and them connecting to me, or me connecting to them. I feel it was mutual connection. It wasn't them meeting me and me, or me meeting them. It was a mutual connection. So I remembered that during shamanic journeys in 2010, 2011. So there are parts of my childhood that it was mostly at the moments of abuse where I would leave my body and connect to the Pleiadians. But it's that space in between being asleep and awake, when you're in your body, but you're not in your body. You're out there somewhere. And I think that's very much to do with the ascension and expansion, because our awareness is expanding. I mean, it's huge what they've shown me, what the Pleiadians have shown me to do with our awareness and our consciousness, and how we are expanding and we are communicating with each other to a degree that is unbelievable, even to us, because we are experiencing things like telepathy. Where there is a very long distance in between us, and we are picking up the same energy, the same thoughts, the same stream of consciousness awareness, because we're in that heightened level. So when you step into that, your telepathy is heightened, everything is heightened.
I remember getting some downloads a few years ago that had to do with how the solar system or galaxy, how it worked and all this, and like the different, it was like about Earth history and the differences between the Earth going on and other planets typically. And one of the things that they showed me was that on a typical planet, normally, where there's not this level of polarity and memory loss and all that, that every night, go ahead, go do what you gotta do. Anyway, so what I was getting, she had to take a break. So in other words, on these other planets, what normally happens, a normal procedure is, and I'm just going to use this description, it's really more of a metaphor, is that when we go to sleep at night, when you go into dream state, you enter this collective space of that realm or planet or whatever it is, and you access fully all of the experiential that occurred between the last sleep period. In other words, everybody's conscious experience is available to you. And so you wake up, so to speak, the next day, and you have not just your own experiential, but the entire planet's experience at your disposal. It's like a widening of the Akashic, or a living Akashic. And that on the Earth, that isn't the way it works, or it hasn't been the way it works. And I think what she's saying is, and what I'm feeling is, that each day we have more and more access to the experiential of everyone on the planet in a bigger way, in a more conscious way. And I feel like that's what she was kind of explaining. So there's so much changing, which is really our reality changing, or at least our potential changing. But it's all in a new language, and it's all in a new math. So it's very difficult to try to conceptualize or understand this new energy by utilizing old methods of math and old language and old means. It's not going to be easily done. It's the fact it won't be done that way. It's got to be us stepping into these fields, these vortexes, these portals that we all create together, and try to do things. So before we get out of here, let's see if Soma, whatever you want to do, if you want to just talk a little bit more, if you want to do a blessing, if you want to channel, if you want to try to connect you and I and everyone else, or do you want to play? What do you want to do? You want to play Intervention? Whatever you want to do.
I'm always up for playing. I used to love the playground, so
we can go visit the unicorns. We can talk to the elementals. We can connect the Pleiadians. We can do whatever. I don't know. I just feel like we need to try something new here.
okay, let's do something different.
Okay.
How about a meditation?
That sounds good.
Okay. Okay. So place both your feet on the floor. The most important thing is that you're comfortable. So get yourself comfortable. Hands on your laps or resting on your thighs or on the armchair or in the arms of a chair. Just get yourself comfortable and breathe. Take 3 deep breaths. In through your nose, down to your belly, and out through your mouth. And 2 more. And once more, in through your nose, down to your belly, and out through your mouth. And raise your vibration. Imagine you are in a bubble of white light or multicolored light that is literally a bubble of energy that is unbreakable. It's a galactic bubble of, you could call it your own spaceship, your own vehicle for traveling the galaxies and the stars and the planets. Step into this bubble and propel yourselves forward. You can visualize a chair in the center if you wish. You are at a great time of humanity, and we are elated, we are delighted, we are thrilled, we are enthralled at where your species is at the moment. We are watching you. We are helping you. We are assisting you. We are with you. We are monitoring you. We are gazing upon you. We are communicating with you. We are downloading to you. We are amongst you. We are with you. We walk amongst you. We blend amongst you. There is no divide amongst you, other than what you have been shown, what you have been programmed to believe, black and white, and rich and poor, being the most 2 predominant forms of separation, black and white, and rich and poor. And yet at one of the highest levels, neither of those is even real or even true or even exists, for you are far greater than you are aware of at the moment, because of your conditioning, because of your programming, because you are programmed to be far less than you are at the moment. You are far greater than you are taught to believe. You are great beings of great power, and you do not come from earth. You do not come from here. Your abilities are expanding and exceeding at the moment, and your awareness is becoming much greater than it was. You need to shed layers of shit, shed layers of conditioning, shed layers of language, shed layers of your limits that have been programmed into you, for you are far greater than you realize, than you've been taught to believe, than you've been led to believe. Your school systems is hugely part of this system that is taught to control you and manipulate you and dumb you down and keep you in a box of enslavement. And it is this box that we are wishing, that we are wanting for you to break free from the limits of your own mind. For you yourselves have created this box. You are all that is, all that ever will be. You are all that is and all that ever will be. You are God. You are God. You are us. You are everything that exists in the universe is in you internally, and you have forgotten. It's time to wake up now. Time to remember who you are. Time to remember the journey. Time to remember your galactic wars. Time to remember the sorrow. Time to take back your power. Time to pick up your etheric swords. Time to step up to the plate and say enough is enough. No more. No war. No divide. No separation. No them and us. No good and bad. There is only one. There is only one. And you must unite and gather together and come together as one. Whether you are at the center of, like Soma was saying earlier, whether you are that divine, beautiful spark at the center of the ocean that is shining, or whether you are at the furthest reach in the dark, feeling that there is no hope for you, feeling lost, feeling like you are disconnected from source, feeling that you are less than, feeling that there is no way forward, feeling that you are less than. It's time to step forward to the front of the queue, to the center of that beautiful spark that you are, and realize that you have become disconnected from God's source. And yet you are God's source. You are divinity. You are the flame of eternal truth. Whatever circle or whatever ever decreasing circle you are in within the ocean of water, within the ocean of energy, you are all God's source. We are God's source. So we wish you to, we want you to, you are evolving. You are us and we are you. There are many places in this galaxy, in this universe, that has life, has energy, has love. And there are also dark spaces as well. But you are all of it. We are all of it. We are all God's source, experiencing everything now. Time is an illusion. Separation is an illusion. We are watching many of you develop at the moment. The likes of Todd, the likes of Soma, the likes of Morgan, and many others. And we feel how strange it is for you to feel your way into the new energies, the new awareness, the new, we are looking for another word apart from energies, but the new consciousness, the new way of being. You are adjusting your frequencies, adjusting your frequencies, adjusting your frequencies again and again and again and again, because you are, your main purpose, your main mission here on earth at this time is to help to lead others into a greater expansion, a greater awareness of being. You are at the forefront. You are the way showers. You are here on earth at this time to help to show others who are behind you in the queue. And we want you to know that there are others ahead of you in the queue. So you could say that you are middle of the road. This is not about hierarchy. Everyone is at a different stage of evolution, whether that is individually or collectively, but also within the universe. Everyone is operating at a different frequency. We are assisting you. We hear you. We hear your struggles. We hear your pain. Nothing on earth is as it seems at the moment. Nothing on earth is as it seems at the moment. There is a great energy shift on earth at the moment. And anything that is trying to stop that increasement in energy will be thrown off. And that includes current situations and current scenarios. Anything that is not operating for your highest good, for your highest evolution, which sometimes does include what you would term negative aspects, negative agendas. From every negative, there is a positive. You are both light and dark. You are both negative and positive. It's a great time to be here on earth now. Free yourselves from the restrictions of your own minds. Even those of you who are aware are becoming more evolved and adjusting and adjusting and getting used to the new energies. Even the likes of Soma and Todd and many others who've been doing this work for years and years and years, and even lifetimes past, who don't even come from here and have had a great time, a great difficulty of fitting in within normal people, normal society, because they don't fit in, because they don't come from here. And many of you listening now will resonate with the feeling of not fitting in, not belonging, not coming from here. Because in very simple terms, you don't come from here. You are not even human. You are hybrids. You are a mixture of different species, different energies, different, and you come from different places. And some of you remember each other, and some of you don't. We wish to connect with you again. We love you. Adjust your systems. Let go of everything that no longer serves you. Whether you are at the front of the queue in terms of energy, whether you would call yourself a light worker, wherever you are within the queue, within the evolution, within the awareness, wherever you are, whether you're at the front or the middle or the back. Adjust your systems. Let go of the conditioning. Let go of the programming. Let go of the thoughts that repeat themselves again and again and again and again and again. Let go of your minds. Let go of your programming. Let go of yourselves. Let go of your conditioning, because you are so conditioned. Even those of you that didn't have any schooling are still conditioned to some degree or another. Let go of your minds. Get out of your mind. Step out of the box. Step out of the programming. And see yourselves for who you are. Beautiful, divine beings of light, of love. You do not come from Earth. We live in a multi-dimensional universe that is beyond what you've been shown on Earth at the moment, beyond your imagination even at the moment. Take the keys and open the box, open the door, expand your minds, expand your consciousness, for it is happening anyway. You cannot stop the tsunami wave of energy that is evolving. We love you so much. You have no idea. We love you so much. This love that we speak of can only be felt. It cannot be spoken of.
And so it is, love and light, which includes all aspects of dark and light. That was powerful. Thank you very much. So, how do you conclude with that? That's just speaks for itself. Thank you again for coming in and on this extended version of Soul Speaks 5D. We have, let me see, we have the next show comes up in 1 hour and 10 minutes with Mick Rogers from Adelaide, Australia. But for right now, let's give thanks to Soma and for the last hour and 50 minutes. And we look forward to further collaborations. I think we're going to talk about it tomorrow in a private call. And I know that was a lot of energy because it's still reverberating.
Well, was that okay, Todd? I don't often do that live on air.
It was very good. It was very, like I said, the energy is still pulsating. I can feel it. Very, very much so. I thought I was gonna, have to. When the energy comes up, sometimes it makes you feel like you got to vomit, right? I was like, ooh. Yeah, that's powerful. It's powerful. And everybody was a part of it. Here it comes. Oh, all right. Okay, so we're going to sign out now. And we'll be collaborating more in 2021 and seeing what we can get into and having more conversations with Soma. And also, for those of you who don't know, Soma interviews people. I think the last time I talked to her, she had almost 30 shows that she did in 2020. And so you might want to check out her page. Do you have a website?
I do, Todd. Yeah, it's the PleiadianChild.com.
Okay.
I also have my book as well, which is the Pleiadian Child. And yeah, Pleiadian.
PLE.
IA.
Oh, wait a minute. That's what I left off. PLEIADIAN child.com. PleiadianChild.com. And then I would assume on that website they can find your book, The Pleiadian Child.
Yeah. And it's also on Amazon as well.
Amazon too. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Anybody needs to get in touch with Soma, hit her up on Facebook. Go to her website, support your brothers and sisters in 2021. It's all about co-creation and collaboration as we expand the outer breadth of Mother Universe. And and if you can't find her, hit me up and I'll connect you to her. We will catch you, well, we'll see you tomorrow, but in publicly, we'll see you down the road, maybe February, March. Peace out. Thank you for everything. Thank you for jumping into the